Welcome to Season 6 of the RAG podcast. Now, for those of you who don't know, the RAG stands for Recruitment Agency Growth, and this show has been around since early 2019. And every week, we are obsessed with finding out how the world's most successful and innovative recruitment agencies and their founders have got to where they are today. In Season 6, alongside the founder's story and the inside information of that business, I also want to focus on the reality of today's economy. There is so much noise about this inevitable recession that we find ourselves in right now. And where it's going to go, is it really having an impact on the recruitment sector? Are they seeing any change in job flow? Are they seeing any change in candidate control or activity? What is going on? I want to find out. So every single week, I want to forget the propaganda, forget the noise. I'm going to speak to a real life recruitment owner and find out what is going on in their business. I will bring it to you every single Wednesday from 12 o'clock across multiple platforms. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the RAG podcast. On this show, I am joined by Alex Odwell. Alex is the founder of Referment, which is a recruitment agency built on a very unique referral methodology, if you like, that he launched in 2016. Having built a larger recruitment company, worked with the Harrington Starr group, he's one of the founding members. He then left in 2016 to start this business, and he wanted to do something completely different. Purposely kept this lean. He wanted to use automation and technology to drive more candidate referrals to his business. Really innovative. In this episode, we break it right down, what his ideas was, what he's done, how he's integrated everything with Bullhorn. And as a result of the success with Referment, he's now launched a platform called Radar, which is effectively going to be coming out in 2023 for other recruitment agencies like you guys to buy and to use. Ultimately, what he wants to do is optimize the role of a recruiter and give you less time doing admin and searching, and just basically have automated created shortlists that you've got to get on the phone to build relationships with. So maximizing the relationship management for recruiters and not the admin stuff that people don't like doing. Really interesting guy. He's been through so much. He gives a completely different take on scaling a recruitment company. And for anyone interested in what can be done with technology in this market, you want to be listening to this show. So without further ado, Alex, welcome to the RAG podcast.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Pleasure. It's nice to see you again. We met, when was it? It was really pre-pandemic, wasn't it?
I think probably end of 2018 or middle of 2018, I think.
Yeah.
Or 2019 for sure. We went to the little coffee shop under Bloomberg. Is it Ectech?
Yeah. Are you still based around there?
No, we're in Vauxhall now.
Right.
In a TOG office right opposite MI6 in the House of Parliament.
You're in the cool part of town now.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of been more pre or post COVID. We were all obviously at home for a couple of months, and we all got a little bit cabin fever. So we got a little office in Vauxhall that was kind of easy for us to get to. And we kind of stayed there ever since.
I bet Vauxhall's a bit more cost effective than Bank though, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we had an office space which was lacking in quality, but the location was amazing, right opposite the new Bloomberg building.
Yeah.
But people weren't going out and about as much as possible. And I think that, the whole idea of having that central location was so that the guys and girls could be out meeting people as much as possible, which I don't think is necessarily the case anymore.
Right. We'll get into that. Well, Alex, welcome to the show. I've given you an intro, but I'd like you to do it justice. So for people that don't know you, tell us who you are now and just give us like a bird's eye overview of the businesses that you operate.
Perfect. So I'm maybe the one of the longest standing 360 recruiters in the fintech region. I've been doing recruitment since 2008. Moved back from America after being at university out there and got a job at Bain & Clark. Then co-founded a company called Harrington Starr with Toby, James and Nadia, and then left to launch Referment. And throughout that time, I've constantly been hands-on. But recently we've been building out the last 5-6 years, we've been building up proprietary technology to try and optimize a recruiter's effectiveness and efficiency. And we're spinning that out into a separate entity to try and help.
You own a recruitment firm called Referment, and how many people are in there?
There is 8 of us at the moment.
And that's all, is that all fintech or?
All fintech, yeah. Operate across technology and what I can term client-facing technology, sales, product marketing, etc. And then, we've got literally just spun up Radar technology, which we'll be piloting and going live with in Q4 this year, which is very exciting.
Okay, we'll get into that as well. So you started Harrington Starr Group, and you were there for was it about 6 years?
Yeah.
And they've gone on to do some really cool things. I don't know how big the headcount is now, but I know they've been on a growth journey for the last few years. And then what made you want to start a new business?
I look back at the start of the Harrington Starr years, 2010, 11, 12, 13, as some of the fondest parts of my professional career. Really, it was just such it was just new and exciting, right? And it's like, it was a us against the world mentality, and we grew the business, or the business grew to, I want to say maybe 50 odd heads. But by the time I left, and there was a New York office that was being launched, and there was a North Star brand that was launched as well at that point in time. But for me, the opportunity to go and do something different without the constraints of trying to grow headcount as the main primary source, and it's a proven, tested method, right? You add 100 people into a sales business and your revenues grow. But that was always, I guess, with I've always had the kind of the complete opposite in terms of my mindset, and I try to liken it to, I wouldn't want to be on an awards stage collecting something for having the biggest recruitment company in the world, but I'd like to, I'd feel proud about being on a stage receiving an award with people going, how the hell are a company with that size making that much money or that big an impact in the market? And I think that's always been something that's probably driven me internally rather than the headcount journey.
Makes sense. So what?
Well, it doesn't. That's the thing.
I'm quite similar. I think I've never been that desperate around headcount. Like Hoxo's now at about just under 40 people, but most of that's managed by my business partner, Amma, and I've only got 6 people in my side, and I love it. And I don't really think I want to grow that at all in terms of headcount. And that's why, I don't know. I think the business will naturally grow, and I'll be a catalyst in there, but I'm not the guy that's going to sit there and try and focus on building it to 50 or 60. That's just not who I am. I don't think I've got that in me.
And I've also, again, trying to use kind of weird analogies, but it's like having an army battalion versus a Navy SEALs team, right? You kind of go in with a crack team of highly skilled, highly driven individuals to solve a problem, which is what we're ultimately trying to do in recruitment, right? We're trying to help people solve their hiring problems, or you kind of go down the other route, which is build out a huge battalion and start invading. So look, again, I know what we've been doing, and I know that it doesn't make sense to a lot of people, and it leaves yourself open to a lot of different challenges that I think you have when you're growing headcount. You've got to make sure you're taking care of people fundamentally, right? Because if everyone's essentially a cornerstone.
The thing about headcount, though, is I think one of the biggest drivers is obviously revenues grow, but you've got that sellable, scalable asset, haven't you? That you're like, if you get it to a certain size, you've got that much depth and structure and foundations in there that you can effectively then swan off into the sunset, and people can buy it. Whereas if you're a really, really small team, it is just about 5-6 people. How do you sell that? Because if the 5-6 people then bugger off, they're buying nothing. That's kind of what one's more cash profit, one's more long game. I think that's how I would see it.
Yeah, and I guess it depends on what you're trying to do, right? We've been tackling some of the main challenges in recruitment with Referment, and building kind of proprietary technology that now we've realised that the value of the technology we built will be better realised selling into other recruitment companies. But the reason for keeping it small has been we've done that purposefully, because when it's small, two things. One, you're able to identify the problems more, rather than if you've got 100 people, it's like, well, he says that and she says this, and you know,
you don't really,
you don't see the gaps as visible. And the problem is that when you're making, you know, when you've got 100 people and you're making X amount of million a year, I think as a business owner, your mindset shifts and you kind of become a bit more protective of what you've got and the impact that has, right? You're not going to turn the screw on something that loses your revenue. So identifying the gaps in the small team is in my opinion a lot easier. But then the second thing is implementing changes to processes, changes to workflows, changes to, you know, anything internal is a lot easier if you've got 4 or 5 people than you've got 100, right? Because as we know, the majority, you know, I think most people are kind of reluctant to change, and, you know, recruiters by our nature are, well, this is how I do it and it works for me.
Makes sense. So talk us through the journey then. So you started, what year did you start Referment? Paint the picture of where you were when you set that up.
2016 it was. Basically kind of thought long and hard about what it is that I wanted to do. And I know, you know, a couple of very, you know, long, difficult conversations with Toby about leaving and moving on, because it wasn't, you know, it wasn't just like, you know, a hot bath and eureka moment for me. It was something like, you know, probably took 4, 5, 6 months for me to kind of, I say, work up the courage, but there comes a point where you've got to draw a line in the sand and move forward. But I just started a brand for them called North Star, which is still going today, which is great to see, about a year ago. And one of the things that we were doing, we're looking at kind of tech recruitment, contract tech recruitment into the, you know, wide C&I market. I can remember being in CW Jobs one day in probably February or March that year and just thinking, oh my God, this is killing me. You know, what was I then, 34 years of age? Is this what the rest of my life is going to look like? And that kind of was maybe one of the catalysts that started me thinking, right, let's go and do something different. And so, you know, Referment basically was born in 2016 with the view of tackling candidate generation, right? That's one of the main problems. You know, recruitment's a fairly simple game, and it's a boxed-in process, right? It's not complicated. It's overcomplicated by people more often than not. And, you know, you've got, you know, candidate attraction, client attraction, process management, right? And so the first thing kind of looked at was, you know, I'd always been told from day one in recruitment, you know, your best candidates come through referrals. So we looked at tackling or digitizing the referral process. And it was quite interesting when I started, you know, you make a lot of learns when you start kind of delving into the tech world, and especially as someone who's not particularly technical. Kind of day one of the business, I found kind of 50, 60 people that I knew very well, and I said, like, what a crazy idea here. I'm going to go and get some jobs, and I'm going to tell you all about these jobs, and you're going to give me referrals, and I'm going to give you a cut of the commission for it. So we started off giving like 10, 15%. We could kind of move it up and down as we wanted to. I think I had a referral reward for like $8,000 on one role that I was working on, but it was worth 35, 40 grand. So, you know, I'd rather take home 32 than nothing. So found these 50, 60 people, called them all, briefed them on the jobs, etc., and then started to get referrals in that way. Now, the problem that I had is that kind of network started to grow, and phoning up people or emailing them independently didn't work. So I had to put them all into a MailChimp campaign and kind of blast them with, you know, quite detailed specs of what we're looking for. And then I started to get referrals in like WhatsApp messages, LinkedIn messages, emails, voicemails, carrier pigeon land on the window once with a name in a scroll. So I had to kind of capture all of that information into one source. I think it was SurveyMonkey or something, Survey Gizmo, SurveyMonkey. So API'd the MailChimp into the Survey Gizmo, the big button kind of refer here that took you through to Survey Gizmo, which we could then capture who you want to refer, you know, your email address, etc. So we could track it all. And that was the start of it. And, you know, month 6, we did like 40 odd grand, 45 grand through that process that was costing me $19.99 a month. So I should have just stopped there, to be honest with you.
So you were like, all right. So what were you doing for jobs though? That was a classic traditional way of getting jobs, where you're just on the phone doing what you do best. But then when it comes to candidates, you have to build a base network to get the data to then even start this out, right?
Yeah, so I was fortunate. I'd had been doing the job for 8 years at that point in time, so I had a network of people. And I think one of the things that you don't see anymore, or not as much of, is I spent 8 years of breakfast, lunches, dinners, drinks, coffees,
I used to do that,
out there building relationships. But the interesting thing with recruitment is it's a two-sided marketplace, right? And on the candidate side, it's B2C, but on the client side, it's B2B. Now, I think it's a lot more difficult, especially as a professional services business, to disrupt a B2B type model. It is very much relationship driven. It's very much done on your reputation and what people think of you. On the candidate side, it's unfortunately, and it's become more so because of COVID, highly transactional. You put your post up on LinkedIn, whatever, and people send you their CV. So that was, again, trying to disintermediate. The focus was to disintermediate the candidate attraction piece by helping people leverage their networks and monetizing their networks, or monetizing their relationships, and then providing us with candidates who weren't necessarily on the market or on job boards, and it worked incredibly well. I think, it worked well.
Yeah, but what's in it for the candidate to refer? Like, were you putting in some innovative, like referral scheme?
Referral scheme, yeah. So interestingly, we don't call people candidates; we just call them people. No. We've got in our bullhorn, we've got clients and contacts, and then people.
Right.
It's a small little thing. I don't know why I felt so passionate about that 6 years ago, but I think it's the right kind of outlook, right? Because the people are either people that you're going to place into roles, or can be an ambassador, or someone can kind of sing and shout about you in the network in which you operate. Now, we started off with, like I said, giving away like 10-15% of the recruitment fee, depending on how desperate we were for the role. But we came across it took us about a year and a half to realize that we had a bit of an issue, and the issue was around engagement. Because the market in which we operate, we deal with people, mid to senior level people, between 1 month and 3 month notice period. So, as an example, somebody can make a referral on the 1st of January. It could be an 8-week, 12-week interview process, then a 3-month notice period, then a 3-month probation period, and we pay the money out after the 3 months. So you're talking kind of end of September. So the problem is, you've referred somebody on 1st of January, and I give you $3,000 on the 30th of September. I've just lost 9 months of engagement with you. It's difficult to go back to that person going, hey, who else have you got? Who else have you got? And it's also very difficult to get somebody through an interview process from a referral perspective, right? So we changed our referral policy to, if you refer somebody and we get them an interview, we'll pay you.
Yeah.
Because it's, that's, you've done.
You can control that. Yeah, you're controlling that in the shorter term, aren't you?
Yeah, and we said it's at $250, and it upticks £50 up to $500. So trying to gamify that, right? And then kind of you move up each successful referral you get to the point where you can make him £500 for giving us a name that we get an interview for. And what's nice about it is that someone could refer someone on Monday morning, you speak to them Monday afternoon, and you get them an interview on Tuesday. On Tuesday afternoon, someone's got 500 quid coming in as a reward, whether it be Amazon vouchers, PayPal. I think
have they?
5 or 6 of these.
What about? Have you ever have any instances where people refer the same people or people you already know, and how does that work?
Yeah, we've not too often. We do have in our terms. I think it's 6-month ownership of that candidate, right? In terms of if we utilize that referral within 6 months, you get rewarded for it, and then afterwards it kind of the time lapse element.
What if someone's already on your mail shot list? So you email 50 people to say, here's a job and who do you know, and someone just refers another person that's already in the list, and then they respond anyway, then surely that would happen.
We try. So yes, the model's obviously since changed from our MailChimp email campaign. We built a whole platform for it, and tied it all into Bullhorn and everything. We try to pay out referral rewards as much as possible. I mean, that's, we take on a case by case basis, but, typically if we've paid out, thousands of pounds to people who referred people that we know, and it could be someone that I've met with last week, but we're
doing it for the long
right,
game, right?
well, you've got to do the right thing, right? You're kind of asking people for access to their networks, and you can't go because as soon as you go to one person, oh no, I've met with him last week or met with her last week, they're going to go, right, this is a scam.
Yeah. So you've kind of got to pay out and build relationships that way and build trust.
That's it, right? And the overarching thing and the fundamental thing that always comes back to me is what's the right thing to do? Is it fair? And I think if you ask somebody for something and they give it to you, then it's fair that they should be rewarded.
So how did it evolve then from you sat there looking at MailChimp with this idea that's beginning to work? Mm-hmm. Where did it go? What happened next? How did it evolve into a recruitment firm and a tech business? Talk us through the journey.
So we tried to nail, like I said, the first main thing that we looked to target and change was candidate attraction, candidate generation, without spending loads of money on job boards and LinkedIn job ads. So we didn't have any of that to begin with. We were I use the term we. I was so adamant against paying for any job boards because that would force us to find ways of doing it differently. So in 2018, I think we had about 550 referrals, and there's only me and two others at that time. In 2019, so there's 3 recruiters, we had 1,100 referrals that came throughout 2019. And that kind of caused us to move and focus on solving the next issue, which was matching these candidates that are getting referred to jobs that we've got. And that was kind of essentially the birth of Radar as an optimization engine, right? Because the thing is, I think on the guys' LinkedIn profiles, it's building the most effective and efficient recruitment business in the world. And the thing that we've been focused on is how do we get our recruiters, how do we codify recruiters so that they can focus on high value, high impact activity, and then we can use technology to augment the low value, low impact activity, right? Even to the point where we spent about 6 months trying to figure out a way that we could automate CV formatting. And then we were like, well, why are we even formatting CVs anyway? Like, what's the point? So we just stopped doing it. I know it sounds stupid, right? It's like, well, the client, if I'm hiring somebody, I don't care whether or not you send through a branded Hoxo Media CV or you send me their normal CV. So because we had these 1,100 referrals, we had this kind of matching problem that myself, John, and Lewis at the time were kind of like trying to figure out the connections between, right, this person just been referred, who could they be good for, etc. And that's
just to pause you a sec. So what were you actually doing all day at that point? So was this still MailChimp into Bullhorn surveys? Like
we'd built the first our first referral platform at that point that we were using quite a lot of marketing on LinkedIn to essentially try and post and publish a lot of our jobs, and then we had a fairly active email campaign. I mean, you'd know yourself and probably better than I would. Marketing's a bit of a black hole, right, when it comes to doing something like this. We looked at tube ads that wanted like 70 grand for, and that's just too much money. And the issue with it is the referral platform trying to market it is, you're fighting for eyeball time with people you don't want to be fighting for eyeball time with, right? Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Yeah. Because the whole idea was when people are on the train, they could be going through the referral platform and trying to figure out a way to make money. But the reality is most people on the train are either flicking through Facebook on what their mate had for dinner last night, or on Instagram looking at cats jumping onto cars or something. So despite the fact that we were getting a lot of referrals, we also did some Facebook advertising as well. And I made you have to make a lot of wrong decisions. But the thing with Facebook for me was I've got like 10,000 connections on LinkedIn, right? But I had until recently, shutting it off, like 200 friends on Facebook. So the people you're connected to on Facebook, you're more closer to and friendlier than you are on LinkedIn. So I kind of made the assumption that if you're working with a team of 15 people, probably 2 of those, you're probably connected with all of them on LinkedIn, but 2 of them you're probably connected with on Facebook. They're your mates. They're the ones that you tell that you're looking for a job and you can't stand your boss, etc. So we did some fake advertising, but that soon went into, you know, you're hitting people in Timbuktu and all over the gap.
It's tricky. What I'm trying to get my head around, like, there's you, there's two others, and you kind of, what your day's like. So you're trying to, you obviously, you go into clients to say, look, we have an innovative model for candidate attraction that's different. And I imagine clients were quite interested in this.
Yeah.
And was it mainly perm or was this contract as well?
All perm.
All perm.
Yeah, predominantly perm, right?
Predominantly
the
perm.
Thing
isn't the hardest to pull perm jobs compared to contract, but it's hard to fill them. Right? So you can get the jobs, but then you've got this engine working in the background.
We had marketing and data science and tech from pretty much day one. You know, I think business started in kind of Q4 2016, but it was just me up in a little room on my own, staring out the window, thinking, what have I done for the first 6 months? And then kind of 2017, that's when after we got that kind of 40 grand in, like I mentioned, by API, it's like, right, that was the kind of the POV, right? Proof of concept. That was like this could actually work.
Yeah.
So then we went and built the initial referral platform. Then, you know, marketing, etc., all came along.
So how did you get the revenue to invest in headcount at that point? Was it from deals or was it money you'd saved or investment?
It's the whole reason we went perm, right? Is because we need the money.
Yeah.
We need the money now. And again, you know, the people, the clients that we work with and the roles that we work on are, you know, our average ticks around kind of 20,000. So, you know, a few of them a month and you're up and running.
Right. Were you still doing deals traditionally as well in the background to keep cash flow coming in?
Yeah. I mean, we would kind of for the first 5 years, it was pretty much kind of hands-on, right?
Yeah.
Billing, and then, you know, all of the money that we made was plowed back into the technology, and has been over the years. So, you know, we took on, I think, I say minimal investment. I mean, tens of thousands. You know, a very, very small initial cash injection to get the first referral platform built. But since then, it's all been organic.
Right. But were you still filling jobs without even using the data and tech at that point? Just doing traditional calling candidates, DMing on LinkedIn, like doing things that every agency does.
Yeah. I mean, it was everything bar. You know, again, we didn't have the access to job advertising. It was, you know, a lot of it was, you build a referral platform to try and ease the flow of, you know, generating those candidates. But, you know, there's nothing like picking up the phone and calling you up and going, hey, Sean, I've got this role and who's you know would be good for it. Yeah. So just a lot of that. But again, that focuses you or forces you to do what I think recruiters should be doing, which is talking to people and building relationships. You know, sitting there and sending out 70, you know, spam LinkedIn messages. Okay, it works, but where's the sport in that? You know, where's the fun in that? It's again, that's just not for me, right? Yeah. I'd rather be talking to people about, I don't know, again, what they've been up to, football, cricket, rugby, politics.
Same.
Just chatting. So I think where we got to. So we had the 1,100 referrals in 2019. Then we essentially.
What did that translate to in revenue? Like, how were you doing as a business at that point?
I want to say, I need to look at the figures here, but probably just shy of a million.
Right. So you got a small lean team doing, you know, just approximately 1 million.
3 guys front office, 4 people back office. I mean, it's the most upside down recruitment company I think ever. You know, you see firms with 50 people and one kind of
one support person.
One support person.
One office manager who's doing the finance, the marketing, the everything. Like
exactly. And we kind of tackled it completely differently. But again, I think at times and in life, if you want to do something differently, then you've got to kind of go off on your own and create your own path.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just difficult to do that sometimes because, as I mentioned before, you know what works, right? I mean, stack them high, sell them cheap. It's the classic recruitment model, right? That's probably a bit bit tasteless stacking my selling sheet, but hopefully you get the,
we get the
build
gist.
build a big army battalion.
I'm interrupting today's episode to bring you a message from our sponsor, Vincere. Vincere are the all-in-one recruitment platform for the most innovative recruitment agencies on the planet. And they've put together a free CRM buyer's guide for you to read, because so many recruitment leaders are looking to upgrade CRMs, but before you sign the contract, be sure to read the terms at least twice. There's so many common traps that you need to watch out for. So not understanding the pricing model is one that always comes up. Discounts limited to only the first year of a contract length is something that companies will throw. What are monthly contracts all about? Could this mean flexibility for the vendor to raise the price in the future? And how is your data hosted? Where is it? Is it anything outside your country? And could it mean compliance and legal issues for you down the line? So you will see the web address to get that right next to this episode. Wherever you're watching this episode, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's Apple, Spotify, YouTube, just look below. You'll see the link, click the link and get that free guide. You will not regret learning all of these hacks before making your decision and locking yourself into a new contract with a new supplier. So, okay, so going into 2019 then, you've got 1,100 referrals, you're doing just short of $1 million. This must have been around when we met. What was the next phase then?
The phase was to, how do we build a technology that matches these candidates to jobs so that we don't have to think, essentially? Or how do you codify what we look for and make those matches? That's where it becomes super, super powerful, right? And we first built a hard-coded algorithm that worked. And essentially what we did is we created it so that we'd have 30 people would come up on a shortlist when we put a job onto Bullhorn. I'm telling you all the secrets right now. If anyone wants to go out and do it, please just give me a call first and I'll tell you all of the mistakes that I've made. Create a shortlist of 30 odd people on Bullhorn that we'd fire out an email to, but we did it in a way that my email was alex@referment.com, and we created a ghost email, alex.odwell@referment.com, same branding, everything. And whoever put the job on the system, the 30 candidates that would come up in the shortlist would fire an automated outreach email to them saying, "Hey, Sean, we just have this great roll on with HSBC. They're looking for a Java developer. Would you and your network be interested?" Being very open, very transparent. We did it in a dynamic way, so whoever had the most notes and most contact with that candidate, it would come from them.
Right. So
they're more likely to respond to it, right? Which is quite a clever little way of doing it. But when I say it's a hard-coded algorithm, it was hard-coded in the sense that there were specific data points that we'd need on Bullhorn to capture. Yeah. And the main one was salary. And we'd set up the algorithm to, if the role was paying 80,000, we'd only capture people who are making 60 to 70 or 75, because they're more likely to want to shift into that role. But anyways, the long and short of it was that kind of created more of a headache for us than we thought it would, in the sense that out of the 30, 15 would come back and go, "Yeah, I'm interested in that role." And then you're like, "You're not right for it. Yeah. You're not right." Well, that the algorithm wasn't as strong as it needed to be to do.
What was it getting? Was it just not getting the right skill set as much, or was it the coding from your end was wrong? Or
no, it was a close match, but there was nuances within. Again, because we'd populated most of the database, we knew most of the people in the system, right? So I could have had a chat with you last week, and I've sent you an email going, "Hey, would you know for this role?" You go, "Yeah, I'm interested." I'm like, "Yeah, but you're not actually right for that job," for whatever reason it might be. So then you've got to kind of go back to the person and say, "Hi, sorry, yeah, look, I don't think you're going to be quite right for this and this reason and that." So a lot of our time was kind of usurped. Instead of going out there speaking to people, was kind of phoning up people going,
down.
Yeah, letting people down. But also you needed the salary information. So I hired a couple of people specifically to get all of these referrals that were coming in, 1,100 referrals, calling up everyone and going, "Hey, look, you've been referred for this job, blah, blah, what's your salary information?" And then after about a month or two, it's like, this stinks. Do you know what I mean? This stinks of everything that I don't stand for, which is data grabby, and you're not building relationships with people. You're just trying to get some information off of them so that you can plug it into an algorithm, right? So that was the other challenge it had. It was hard coded on salary information, and then the automated outreach, which we've come on to in terms of how we kind of amend that now. It needs to be absolutely bob on. Otherwise, you cause yourself, another problem. So 2020 rolled around, didn't it? I was very fortunate that I actually gave notice in our office in February of 2020.
Yeah.
A 2-month break clause.
Was that because you were looking to move anyway? You were thinking
Yeah. We're just sick and tired of the office that we were in. It was, again, great location, but pretty tired on the inside. And I can remember driving up to, obviously, I think it was the 14th of March. Remember, it's like the doomsday, right? Stay at home. There's this deadly virus out there that's going to eat you if it sees you. And I had to go up. I had all of the stuff in the office, so I had to go and rent an enterprise renter van and drive up from where we lived down in Epsom up to the city on like the 1st of April, 2nd of April, 3rd of April, whenever it was, and kind of load up this van with all of our goods. I mean, people talk how dead the city's been. Driving up there at that point, in the apocalyptic time of the beginning of April, it was absolutely dead. Didn't see a soul, but I still managed to get a driving ticket by turning left down a bus lane. So classic. So we kind of went. So because of, I guess, everyone kind of started moving remotely. I can remember purposely saying to the guys, again, we had a very small, lean team, which again was very helpful for us to, in terms of our ability to stay functioning. I remember just saying to the guys, don't call up anyone asking for jobs. Just, for the first, just call up everyone that you know, anyone you ever spoke to, how you getting on, everyone all right, everyone, but don't talk about recruitment. Yeah. Because, recruitment is, and I joke, but it's kind of like the fourth emergency services, right? Is that when you want a recruiter, you're out of a job or you're looking for someone, that's your kind of go-to. But other than that, you don't really want to hear from them. Yeah. It's like I don't want the local fire marshal come around every week going, "Oh, can I test your smoke alarms?" You're like, "No, mate, piss off! Like you did it last week." Yeah. So we did that, and then at that point, the view was very much on radar on this optimization engine that we've been working on. And it kind of was quite timely because
what is the optimization engine, this matching algorithm that you had?
It's there's a number of there's a few elements to it. The matching element being a core part of it. But because everyone dispersed to their homes, you lost those conversations around the water cooler and down the pub around, I'm looking to leave, or I'm not happy in my job, or, and I think at that point in time, if you decided to hand in your notice, you were mental. Just no one knows what's going on. Just everyone just kind of sat tight and rightfully so. So we kind of went to work on the matching engine piece and done some interesting things with tech and stuck it into a graphing database, which I won't go into the details on, but effectively, because we had this issue around collecting manual data points, i.e. salaries, we needed to find a way that we could match it just for CV. And you would know as well as I that no one puts their salaries on their CVs, right? So we needed to find a way that we could match it off of features on a CV that a recruiter looks for, and make assumptions on what their kind of salary level will be, which for our market hasn't been that difficult because, you've got junior, mid and senior levels as an example. And if you're looking for someone at 100K salary, you're probably at 5 to 7 years nowadays, right? So that was the birth of Radar, albeit we didn't know what it was called back then. Yeah. And the optimization went to work, and we worked very hard for, the last 3 years, working with a team of data scientists sitting directly next to a team of recruiters. And like I said, it's, that isn't common. And I think far too often when you look at a lot of recruitment technology and where some of the bigger boys have failed to nail it, is they've got a team of technologists that are sitting either in a different floor or in most cases a different office building, who are kind of so far removed away from the business and the fighting that they don't, they're building solutions that no one's using.
Yeah.
And we had the luxury of having people sitting next to each other going, right, and sitting with a data scientist saying, right, look, this is what we look for in a CV. Here's how we skim a CV. This is what we need to take into account, blah, blah, blah. And then going away and coming up with innovative ways of capturing that and modeling it into an algorithm that enables us to get accurate shortlists of data that we've got. It was quite interesting because once we moved to the model as it is now, i.e. without the kind of manual data points being captured, we had a bit of an issue, right? Because we've been quite lean and not used job boards and not used LinkedIn advertising. We had like 5,000 CVs. Now trying to model and train an algorithm on that limited amount of data is very, 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 very difficult. So we had to go on a massive kind of big push on CV. We needed CVs and we needed CVs fast. So we've got 60 LinkedIn job slots between kind of 4 guys. I mean, it's just, and we created data pipes into the business. So any CV that comes into Referment, whether it be an email, whether it be from a job board, from an advert, is sucked into our database because we need that as much data as possible. Whereas most, and also the reality is that I'm paying for it, right? So if I'm paying for that CV, then why am I trying to store it? Because all that might not be right for a job right now. In 5 months' time, it might be, right?
How is it capturing the salary points and stuff if no one's manually doing it? Where's it coming from?
So there's a number of features that are baked into the model. Industry, company, it makes matches based on company information based off of a market data feed that we get from Thomson Reuters or Refinitiv of London Stock Exchange Group now. It takes into account job titles, skills. It takes into account experience in terms of terms like tenure in roles and length of career.
So it's basically is it estimating it then?
Yeah. So one of the things, and it's difficult to get, we went from 5,000 CVs to 50,000 CVs, right, in 2 years. And we've got a data lake of CVs, 50,000 CVs that are sitting on a table, right? Now, at one end, you might have Python engineers. At one end, you might have salespeople. Now, what I'm trying to do and what we've done is, you're never going to build a model that goes in and picks out the exact perfect person, because there's no point in that, because the perfect person might not be looking to leave at the moment in time. They might have, might be going off on holiday or whatever it might be. But all you're trying to do is to get the magnifying glass into an area of your database that says, here are the people that are relevant for the role in which you're looking for. And you can set the parameters on how many, how big you want that magnifying glass to be. It could be, we want 10 people, we want 100 people.
Isn't that the same as doing a search on Bullhorn anyway, though?
Yes and no. Search functionality, by and large, within CRMs and it isn't it's not what their main focus is, right? And the other thing is, this works completely behind the scenes. So
you're not having to sit there and type it all out. And yeah.
You don't.
I'll be honest. In my day, I used to recruit. There you go. I used to recruit the Lloyd's of London insurance market, right? And I knew all the names of the brokers and underwriters that were part of Lloyd's. So that is sort of thing you could have put into an engine like this, but obviously Bullhorn couldn't do that. So I had all these search strings set and it would skim that non-structured data through CVs where it could be anywhere, and I was able to get older people that someone who didn't have that market knowledge couldn't get, because it wouldn't say Lloyd's of London market, right? It'd have to be 260 companies or whatever, and I knew they had a stake in the market. So there was. I'll be honest, my Bullhorn searching was really useful for me. Like, it used to pull it pulled big lists, but it would get me to a point where it would do what I needed it to do at the time.
No, and I think, it's
going back a long few years now, but
yeah, I've got to say, there's a number of of interesting points about what we've built, and when you're talking about USPs of a company, the main ones are, right, it can speed up your work flow, but it can also help you make more money, right? Because one of the things when you're using a model like Radar, as I said, it's embedded fully behind the scenes. You don't do anything, right? All you've got to do is put a job onto your system as accurately as you want, as accurately as you can, to identify what you want, and then the model has over time made inferences that if you're looking for, let's say, a Java with Spring, it will also look, a Hibernate is linked to Spring on 80% of the CV, so we can then tie that into somebody that might be relevant. So you start being able to take on and onboard, let's say, 10, 15, 20 grads and embed that knowledge immediately. The other thing that when I say it's an optimization, it's not just matching, so everything's built within Bullhorn for us, and we've actually just been accepted on the Bullhorn developer program, which is big news, breaking news for you there. Wow. Is CRM first, so you want your people sitting in your CRM as much as possible and not kind of going out into LinkedIn and having CVs stored in LinkedIn emails that you don't ever see and ever get onto your system. But when you left your company with your Boolean search string that was supersonic and on steroids, that supersonic steroided search string left with you, right? And all of that market knowledge and information that you've got, everything that we've got is tracked fully and automated within Bullhorn, so that when that information goes, all of the candidates that have matched jobs previously are stored and tracked on the candidate or the people profile, the person profile. So when a person comes back onto the market, you call me and you go, hey, Alex, I'm back on the market looking for a job. I can go to your person profile on Bullhorn, and I can see over the last historic 2, 3, 4 years, all of the jobs that you've matched. And they're jobs that you've got with current clients, the people who you've got terms of business agreed, you've got obviously the hiring manager's details, et cetera, which becomes a huge benefit from a canvassing perspective, rather than, getting an email in the morning saying HSBC are hiring 500 developers. It's like, great, brilliant. I'm going to go down an absolute rabbit hole now trying to waste my time getting those jobs on. So there's loads of different, there's lots of different USPs around data hygiene, optimizing processes that I think from a recruitment leadership perspective are very beneficial in future-proofing your business, and essentially just doing it best practice, right? And by our nature, we go on.
As the founder, I'm trying to get my head into your world. So as the founder of this business, you strike me as you would have been a lot more detail oriented than your classic recruitment founder that are always thinking headcount, growth, strategies. You're in the weeds thinking about the tech and the data. And obviously you're not the data scientist, but you can tell the way you're talking, you're modeling this shit over and over and over in your own brain. And so what's your role been like over the last couple of years as you've been evolving it? How do you spend your time?
Good question. And again, I think it's just, I heard years ago, I was one of them in America, I was watching Oprah Winfrey and her husband was on, and he said something, this is going back 20 years now, right? He said something that's kind of stuck with me, is what you focus on expands. Yeah. And it's so true in any walk of life, whatever you kind of put your attention to and your efforts towards fixing, becomes a central focus. And like I said, the bigger strategy, how do we go and win clients? How do we grow headcount? It's just never, ever crossed my mind. It's never been a focus. It's been, how do we, the idea was to build the tech and to optimize the process and absolutely nail the workflows, and then go and scale the recruiter, and do it at a rate whereby, you've got so much embedded data and technology that you can really go hard on scaling, right? The reality is that we've got to a point whereby I don't really want to do that. I don't particularly want to go and scale and spend my time interviewing people and losing them for whatever reason, because it is tough. Getting hiring right is tough. And it's now become more of a passion point around professionalizing the industry and using Radar as a a tool that's been built by seriously good recruiters that works behind the scenes, that tracks everything for you, that forces you to input correct data and information to get the best out of it. Because the problem is that the majority of times you go into a recruitment company and you go onto their jobs pages and there's just shit information on it. Because if I've gone and qualified a job, why do I need to put it on the system? I've got all the information in my notebook or in my brain, and the last thing I want is to put all the information in. Jennifer or Bob read it all and send over a candidate, and there goes my commission dinner. So data hygiene has always been used as a stick in recruitment, right? But no one's really been able to explain why. But again, with what we've done, it forces you to do it, because the better the information you put in, the quicker the reward in terms of getting access to the right people within your databases. And again, we can populate a job, and within 60 seconds, you've got a short list of 20, 50, 100, however, whatever you want to set the parameter to, of relevant candidates in your database that have got that would have had an experience with your business, that aren't maybe on job boards at the moment because they're passive within your own database, and you get access to them immediately, right? I mean, why wouldn't you want that?
Where does the referral piece kick in? Is that still part of it?
Yeah, so the referral piece is still. So we still, funnily enough, we've got just hired a new marketing exec who's we're kind of bringing in to re-engage and focus on the referral piece. Look, we've still continued to get referrals, and we've sent out kind of weekly newsletters and everything around the referral piece. We've still got the referral platform up and running, but a lot of it's been kind of manual. But with everyone, like I mentioned before, everyone kind of working from home, working remotely, etc. We're now starting to see people come into the office and come back into work more often. That it's kind of almost been timely that we've been able to kind of take our focus off of the referral piece, but to now kind of bring it back online now that people are getting back in, going out for lunches.
And how are the recruiters performing in your own business now? And how many have you got right now? 4, did you say?
There's 5. 5. Really well. They're doing some pretty big numbers.
And they're following the what they do.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to, right? I mean, as in you have to. Like I said, it's been easy to kind of change their minds, change their mindset, or change their processes, because this is how we're doing it. And if you've got 100 people to do that, so you're always going to have the people in the corner, he doesn't know what he's doing, this is shit, and trying to sell the vision of what we've been trying to do to the guys internally, and appreciate that at the beginning, the models weren't great, but 2 years down the line, with more data and more finessing and more feedback to the data team, you now got workable models that again are running 24/7, 365, and making matches and surfacing them to your you don't have to, it's taking away that thinking out of it. But they're doing pretty big numbers. Interesting. We don't have any sales. I don't have targets for any of the sales guys. Never had targets. Do as much as you possibly can. And I think one of the challenges that we've always had in recruiting people on the sales team is we've all got pretty high expectations. We don't really talk about, we don't have values, right? We don't have kind of a wall with fun and energy and whatever. We have standards, standards that you kind of live by and breathe by. And that's how you kind of talk with each other. I said we don't even have them written down, but it's like if you either know what those standards should be, or you don't. And if you don't know what they are, then you're not going to get it. So they're a pretty tough bunch to work with if you're not on the same page, because they're very opening and very keen to help people, but they care, which is the biggest attribute I think anyone could ever have, is just having giving a shit. And they sniff out people who don't give a shit pretty quickly, and at that point, you've essentially lost the dressing room, right? So yeah, I don't know where I'm rambling with that.
How much do you lead this team? How involved are you in getting them going and tracking what they're up to and being a kind of leader for the recruiters?
I will occasionally walk over and ask them what their pipeline's like, and they'll tell me to fuck off. So it's kind of like, you know, we've got a very good relationship in that sense. You know, yeah, there are times where, you know, and again, with my focus for the last 6 months has been more and more away from Referment. So, you know, one of the things that I'm going to have to do is shut the door on Referment and let the guys run it independently and grow it. Now it's, you know, it's there to thrive, and then focus, you know, 100% on Radar, which is a decision that was unconsciously made for me probably at the beginning of the year. But you know, there are occasions, you know, the only times I really get involved are when I hear murmurs of it's a tough market, there's no candidates, etc., etc. You know, and that's just you know, guys, if we're finding it tough, then everyone else is, right? You know, just bear that in mind. You know, if you've got 30 odd years of collective experience doing this job, if you're finding it tough, then all the newbies that started 3 months ago, imagine, you know, what shit they're going through. But also then trying to kind of go back, you know, keep them grounded on remembering what the job is. And like I said, it's a simple job complicated by idiots more often than not, or overcomplicated by people. You know, it's you know, if you can't find candidates, get on the phone and speak to people. You know, you're here for 8 hours a day or whatever it is, 7 hours a day. You know, you can either sit on LinkedIn and go slowly but surely crazy, or you can make those 7 hours fun and enjoyable and go quickly by being active. Now, the outcome you're not often in control of. You know, do you get a good candidate by the end of the day? But if you're gonna do it and have fun, I'd rather fail that way than fail just staring at a computer screen.
Makes sense. So tell us about the vision now for Radar, and where is this heading? You mentioned at the beginning, like, it's going to be a product you want to now sell to other recruitment firms. So what is this vision that you're trying to do? What's
the go-to-market strategy? That's a great question. I hate the word strategy as well. It really confuses me. It's kind
what's the plan?
What's the to-do list? What do we got to do? So first and foremost, we need to get a couple of companies piloting the product. So getting them to, you know, there's an implementation challenges that we'll no doubt uncover. But we've got a couple of companies lined up for piloting that. It's an enterprise type solution, right? It's one that can be used. It's not as beneficial for companies, let's say at 5-10 people like us, but for someone with 50 plus heads, it becomes a very compelling proposition. So, you know, I've been using Bullhorn for 12 years now, right? I think we were probably one of the first people to use it at Harrington Starr, and we've effectively built our whole solution around Bullhorn. So, you know, we're actually looking for enterprise Bullhorn customers for the first kind of 10 to 15 implementations, but everything's based in the cloud. It's a cloud-based solution. So APIs into any system, but, you know, one step at a time.
It's a big enough market anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, look, you know, I turned 40 this year, and I was kind of hoping at this time I'd be, you know, winding down, but it feels like I'm now going to do something that I've never done before and I've got no experience in doing, which is building and running a tech company. And I guess that's maybe says more about me than anything else that I could. Again, I feel very, very passionate and very excited about what this can do to people and for businesses, and hopefully continue to professionalize the recruitment industry, because we've been for far too often somewhere between estate agents and traffic wardens, right? Depending on the agency. And I think that where the industry is going and will continue to go so is more consultancy route and more kind of professional services, and, you know, being data driven. And it's easy to say being data driven, but actually being data driven is a completely different beast.
Yeah. So paint the picture then. If a client buys this in its kind of perfect form in the future,
Yeah.
What are they buying? Just make it simple for me. What is this tool going to do, and what are they going to get?
It's going to help them make increased profitability per recruiter.
Right.
That's probably the overarching USP. So when you and I go back to my Harrington Starr days, when you're running a bigger business, you've got, with any sales team, you've got a bell curve, right? You've got your top performers at the front. You're not worried about them. They're making loads of money. They're doing well. You've got your bottom 10% who you're not really worried about because they're either going to self-select out or you're going to fire them.
Yeah.
So all of your effort is built on this kind of mid-market and trying to move that bell curve 10, 15, 20% forward. Now, I call it managing average, and that's probably not the right term and a bit harsh on people in that phase. But anyone who's in that kind of average part of the bell curve doesn't necessarily want to be there. It's not like they're there through lack of effort or through lack of trying. But there's a lot of information within recruitment, and like I said, although it's a defined process, there's a lot of ways of going off piste than wasting lots of time. So what Radar enables you to do is to move your profitability by effectively kind of cutting out and stopping all of that wastage of effort and time, and optimizing doing the things that you should be doing, which is, again, speaking to people and sitting within your CRM and using the data that you've got as much as possible, and not kind of going out wasting, again, looking on job board for 45 minutes to try and find a candidate. I mean, kill me. Yeah, I probably need to work on that pitch, but
you're going to have an audience listening now, mate. These are the people you want to work with.
If anyone's got any ideas on how to build a pitch, let me know. I'm open. No, we've been kind of going down the route of, we've demoed it to a few companies. We demoed it to Bullhorn, which was really positive feedback from them. Demoed it to a couple of their marketplace partners to try and leverage their networks, and the feedback's been really, really encouraging. And look, the thing is I know it works because we built it, right? It's not, this isn't something that's been incubated in a far off office.
But you have built it and used it on a 5-man business or 4-man business. You're selling it to 50. It's a different beast, right? So that's going to be a challenge.
It is, but that's part of the reason why we kind of realized that we need to take this out, because trying to move the dial on somebody who's doing 450 grand a year, trying to get Usain Bolt to run and take a second off his time is very, very, very difficult. Trying to get a second off of my 100-meter time as a fat middle-aged 40-year-old, it could be done pretty easily, right? With the right kind of training, the right information, etc. So, when you've got 5 people who are very, very good at what they do, it's difficult to move the dial on them. Also, the kind of client base that we deal with is, if anyone's looking at building a recruitment company, the best advice I'll give them is get good clients. Get good clients people want to work for, because if you get that, then you get the good candidates, right? And we are very fortunate. We've got some very, very, very good clients, but they have very high bars in terms of getting into their businesses. So, we don't have, any clients on Referment that hire probably more than, that aren't hiring 50 of these at a time or 200 of these at a time, etc. So we don't have the right client base for the solution that we've built in terms of, attrition and volume. And again, the guys are very good. So, it was some realization that we've actually built this perfect model that's can generate much more value within a different environment.
And have you got to now go out and raise capital as well to build this and build a team, or is it all coming? Is your recruitment business your capital? Is that your cash engine?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very keen to separate the two, and I think that moving forward, it's going to be very unfair for the recruitment business to fund the tech business. I think that could create a problem, and rightfully so. If the guys in recruitment are there on the side, they're tasked with building an established business, right? We're kind of just shy of a couple of million turnover a year business and growing that to 10 million. If they're working their socks off to do that, and then I'm coming in going, oh, right, we need 500 grand and we're just going to plummet into this tech business. Over time, you're going to be like, no, this is bullshit, right? So, we are the plan at the moment is to keep that and allow that to flourish independently and not drain it of capital that's going to need to grow, and then look to fund Radar separately.
So it will need investment, I imagine, because it's
not initially. We can run it very lean to begin with, in the way the systems are all built. But we're as a business with zero revenues, it's quite difficult to raise capital, especially a tech company. But also, if you do, you're doing an evaluation that isn't in your favour. But like I said, if we get 1 or 2 pilots underway, then that significantly changes.
When do you think that'll be? When do you think you'll be in that position where you've got 2 clients on board or whatever, and it's rolling?
We've got paperwork out to a few at the moment. So my hope is that by the end of the year we've got go live. I think it's an interesting time. You don't want to kind of go full live in December because everyone's kind of switching off and winding down.
Yeah.
But if you can get all the plumbing and all of the get the implementation done for a kind of January start, then we're rocking and rolling in 2023.
It's exciting, really exciting. Look, I've launched a marketing agency having no idea what I'm doing, and I've launched an e-learning business having no idea what I'm doing. So I've never launched a tech company, but I have obviously got some weird desire to keep doing this, right? Where it's the fear of the unknown, it's the vision I've got that no one else is doing what I want to do. I don't know. It's like you very. I can empathize a lot with you there, and no doubt you're going to learn a lot. You're going to make mistakes like you already have, and it's going to be a journey. But as long as you focus on where you wait, I think with you it's quite clear what you want to do with this. Whereas with me, it's been such a meandering journey of trying to solve problems and then thinking actually that's not the one we want to solve. And Hoxo's reinvented itself again this year, which 5 years down the line we tweaked what we do, and I think this is the best move we've made this year to focus on branding and content. Because you said it, marketing's a black hole in recruitment. We don't even want to solve half of the shit that people are trying to solve anymore. We're like, do you know what? No, we're just going to focus on branding companies and their people better and making them look better, making them sound better, coming across better. The detail around all the stuff you're doing, the technology and everything, that's not our bag. We don't want to get involved in that.
No, but cool. You kind of surround yourself with people that again, I'm not professing to be, a tech evangelist, right? But I know what the problem. I've been in the weeds for so long, and I know what the problems are that we can try and solve. And whether or not you're a 5-person company or a 500-person company, you've got the same problem, but in 500, it's just multiplied by X. Because recruitment's like I said, it's a boxed-in process.
All I'm saying is it meanders, it changes. But what I like about you do, I feel confident that you've got the vision of where you want to take it. There's a lot to do in that vision and tweak and refine, like the pitch and the rest of it. But you know what problem you're trying to solve, and you'll stick. And I think you'll stick to that, that's where I think a lot of startups go, especially like what I've done, have gone wrong. There was a lack of real clarity on where you're heading for what reason, and it's tough.
It's difficult, right? Because you hear about companies that start up and they fail and stuff like that. Again, no one sets up to start up a company that fails, and a lot of the times it's luck and it's timing. And the reality is, as the saying goes, if you stay in the barbershop long enough, you get a haircut, right? I mean, that's kind of the focus for the first 2-3 years was just keep going. Bearing in mind, we've invested so much money into, technology and solving the problems that most normal people, or most people wouldn't have done. We had kind of 2 months of runway for about 3.5 years. That kind of makes you kind of get up in the morning. But it also causes you a lot. Again, I had jet black hair 4 years ago.
No, that was a lot longer.
Yeah. So there's different challenges that you encounter. But it's that kind of it's the worry and it's the fear of the unknown. And I'm not worried about that. Again, I don't look at anyone and go, right, I can't do that. There's some things that I can't do. Like I can't play musical instruments, and I cannot draw. I cannot draw for the life of me. But maybe that's because I've never wanted to. If you want to do something, I believe you can do it.
Yeah, you can. Of course you can. Well, look, Alex, been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed it. We've run out of time, but I wish you all the success. I think if anyone's listening to this show, there's a couple of things. Obviously, if anyone wants to pick your brains on bit of bullhorn knowledge you've got and things you've kind of done and not done. Are you open to that?
100%.
Yeah, and if
100%.
anyone wants to actually pilot this and is thinking, well, I like the sound of this, then just reach out to you on LinkedIn. I'll tag you in everything that we've got on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Nice one. Perfect.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you very, very much for inviting me on.
Let's get you back on in the future. Let's find out how you're getting on. I want to, in a year's time, I want to know if you've conquered these 2 pilots or whatever and where you're at. Let's find out. But keep in touch. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon.
Nice one. Cheers, Sean. Take care, mate.
Thank you, as always, for listening to today's show. I truly, truly hope that you got value from it. That's the only reason I take time every week, is to ensure that my audience, future and existing recruitment owners, are learning from each other to make this industry that I love so much stronger. Today's episode was brought to you by Hoxo Media. I am the CEO and founder of Hoxo Media, and we are the world's leading content marketing and personal branding agency for recruitment businesses specifically. So we are working with over 200 agencies and 2,000 recruiters right now, both managing the brands, producing content, building written, video, podcast content for niche recruitment agencies all over the world, as well as coaching at a desk level individual recruiters in your businesses how to be better on LinkedIn. That's how to brand themselves. That's how to produce content. That's how to use the opportunity on LinkedIn to get traffic to their profiles and turn that into business. We're coaching people all over the world every single day. If any of that sounds of interest, please do visit www.hoxomedia.com or drop me, Sean Anderson, a personal message on LinkedIn. I would love to talk to you. I'll see you soon.